Hi, I'm Elizabeth Spring, and today I'm interviewing Claudia Trivelas, and she's going to be talking about the themes that we can expect to experience this summer. So Claudia, tell me about some of these dominant energies that are happening.
Okay, well, summer 2018 is a pretty powerful period of time. So one theme that's happening is that Jupiter, the planet Jupiter, which has to do with our expansion, is in the sign of Scorpio, and it's been there since October 10th of 2017. So Jupiter in Scorpio really favors transformation. It's really about getting to the bottom of things and or expanding our desire to work things out within ourselves, to grow, to evolve. So Jupiter's making some lovely aspects over the summer, which is advantageous to us. And that has to do with aspects to Neptune and Pluto, which increases or makes it easier for us to change things that we'd like to change. But also it gives a lot of compassion. So there is a theme this summer for potential for tolerance, compassion, and also spiritual harmony. So I think we can use that at this point in the world.
Lovely.
And Saturn, another major planet, is in Capricorn since the winter solstice in December. So Saturn in Capricorn is making sure that we do what we need to do. Like, you can't get away with much. Pluto's in Capricorn as well. So that's like, okay, what structures don't work? What do we have to do to really get this done? Sometimes growth and evolution is like peeling back an onion. We think we've mastered something and we peel it back to the next level, and here it is up all over again, and we have to deal with it. So we can expect that dynamic this summer. And that is all reinforced by the fact that there are 7 planets that will be retrograde at different times.
7 planets, that's a lot.
Over the summer, which is pretty unusual to have that many planets. Not all of them at the same time, but there is a point where 6 out of the 8 planets are almost hardly moving at all, basically stationary.
Wow.
So what this means is that it's it's a time of an inner time, a time of looking inward, looking at inside. Not so much a time of taking huge steps forward or starting new businesses or starting new projects. Better to reevaluate what's been done and make improvements on that.
So this is when planets are retrograde. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so retrograde planets are felt more intensely.
Okay.
They're felt more keenly. So some good keywords regarding retrograde planets are words that begin with re. So retrograde, so like redo, anything, things that need to be redone because you're not satisfied with them. Reviewing progress that you've made in various areas and what needs to tighten it up, especially with Saturn and Pluto and Capricorn. There's, a desire to get things right, really do it well. Reevaluate, redefine, and relinquish if you have to.
Wow.
So a little bit about some of the planets is that when Mercury's retrograde, it's not a good time. Logic doesn't serve you well, let's say. So it's not a good time to sign contracts or, buy a new car or buy a new computer. Mechanical things tend to not work so well.
And I say that's 7/26 through 8/19.
Yep, from July 26th through August 19th.
Right.
Basically smack in the middle of the summer.
Right.
Well, Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year.
Right.
and
Right.
it goes retrograde for about 3 weeks,
Yep.
generally.
Yep.
So most of us have heard about Mercury retrograde. That's sort of the retrograde that we know most about.
Right.
But another big retrograde, and this just happened a few days ago, June 26th, and Mars will stay retrograde until the 27th of August, which is very important actually, because Mars is in the same vicinity of the zodiac as the south node of the moon, your specialty. So Mars retrograde is a lot about how to use your energy, how to direct your energy. Impulsive acts may not work out very well. You know, you have to really be cautious in general, because
One thing I remember about Mars retrograde is that it's not the best time for financial investments, especially if they're a little bit risky.
That's right. And interestingly enough, Mars will be retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. So it's also a time to reassess how we're using our energy for the greater good, since Aquarius has to do with
the collective,
group
right,
energy.
Right.
Uranus is retrograde from August 7th through January 6th of 2019. So that has a lot to do. Uranus is in Taurus, and those two energies are quite different. So Taurus energy is very stable and solid. Uranus disrupts and breaks things apart.
Right.
So it may not be so easy to break apart some patterns that we've developed, but these patterns may be obvious that they're not working anymore.
They're going to be under tension.
A lot of tension.
Yeah.
Neptune is retrograde from June 18th to November 24th. And that's actually a positive in many ways, in terms of really coming back to compassion and the heart, and what's important to us in a spiritual sense. One interesting fact about Neptune retrograde is it sometimes makes the confusion more obvious right before we see the dawning of a higher reality.
Yeah.
So we can expect, there's definitely a lot of chaos and confusion.
Yeah.
That we can take a look at. And we talked about, I mentioned Jupiter, and when Jupiter in Scorpio as it is now, that actually has been retrograde since March 8th. It goes direct July 10th. And it's very much a deepening of changes that we started making in the early spring, and or in the winter, and a good time to identify what still needs a makeover. And Saturn is retrograde, and again it's in Capricorn, so it's an opportunity to really see, are we really grounded in our vision? Are we just talking about it, or are we actually doing it? Are we walking our talk or not? So it demands that, Saturn demands that we face our fears and grow up.
Right.
Grow up
The
and
maturing planet, the reality planet there.
And Pluto retrograde from April 22nd to September 30th. So did we really make those changes and tighten up all those loose ends? So it's a lot of inner time. It's a lot of retreat time. It's a lot of reevaluation time. Especially if one has planets that are affected by the degrees of the retrograde, because it's essentially some of these planets are standing still. So what this also means is that people, whatever's going on now at the summer solstice is probably what's going on in the fall equinox, because many of these planets don't move more than 3 or 4 degrees, some up to 8 degrees, but the same issues are going to appear now as appeared, same issues that appeared at the summer solstice may still be up.
Right.
This fall.
Now, I know from my work on the nodes that there are 3 eclipses this summer. You want to tell us where and when these eclipses are?
So eclipses are points where the energy is, again, going to be more profound if they're aspecting a point in your chart.
In your chart, right,
Yeah.
right.
They also have an effect on the collective, just because, as we know, every full moon and new moon has some effect. But these tend to have more of an effect. So there's 2 new moon eclipses. One July 12th, one August 11th. So one's in Cancer, mid to late Cancer, and mid Leo. So if you're born in the middle of, if you're born, the eclipse is August 11th. So if you're born around that time, you probably feel it. And the same if you're born around July 12th. And there's a full moon lunar eclipse on July 27th in Aquarius.
4 degrees of Aquarius.
Yeah. So those are key points. So.
Yeah. So who is most affected by these retrogrades?
So again, if one of these stationary points are affecting you in your chart,
okay,
or if one of the eclipses, or especially if they're hitting your sun or your moon or your rising sign, but also if they're affecting right on, usually within a degree or two of one of the other planets in your chart, you'll feel that energy strongly.
Yeah, good. Well, this is a lot to take in today. Now, when you also do a reading, do you cover the transits, the retro planets, and the eclipses? All
Absolutely.
Of them?
We look at all these points in the chart.
Okay, great.
And look at the chart as a whole and see what opportunities are there for you and what needs to be honed up.
Good. So how can people get in touch with you?
So you can get in touch with me through my website, discoveryourimprint.com. And it'll give you information for setting up a reading. And also you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram.
Right. You've got a Instagram at hashtag astrology by Goddess Isis.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I post for every new moon and full moon and major planetary events. So, thanks.
All right.
Bye
We'll
for
get in
now.
touch with her. She knows what she's talking about.